Step by Step was one of the most beloved family sitcoms of the 90s, bringing humor, warmth, and relatable family dynamics to millions of viewers every week. It taught us about second chances, blended families, and finding love in unexpected places. But while the show filled our screens with laughter and light, some of the talented actors who made it so memorable faced real-life struggles and tragic endings. In this heartfelt tribute, we honor the stars of Step by Step who have sadly passed away, celebrating their lives, their work, and the joy they brought to a generation of fans. Suzanne Somers was born Suzanne Marie Mahoney on October 16, 1946, in San Bruno, California, into a household teetering on dysfunction. Her father, an alcoholic, brought volatility and fear into their modest home. From a young age, Suzanne learned to smile through the chaos, using charm as both shield and survival. Beneath her beauty and wit, however, was a child constantly bracing for the next explosion, a girl who clung to self-worth through approval. Fame found her in the 1970s with Three's Company, but even success came laced with betrayal. When Suzanne fought for equal pay, her character was written off the show. Hollywood, she learned, had little patience for women who demanded fairness. It was a career blow that branded her difficult, closing many doors for years. Her role as Carol Foster Lambert in Step by Step, 1991 to 1998, would later restore her visibility, but even then, she carried the scars of rejection. Carol was upbeat, nurturing, a reflection of who Suzanne wanted to be, not always who she was inside. Behind the scenes, Suzanne battled cancer, career blacklisting, and the long shadow of self-doubt. The glitz never cured the ache of her past, and each laugh line seemed to carry its own silent history. Her marriage to Alan Hamill, though lasting over 4 decades, was not immune to strain. While their bond often seemed unbreakable in interviews, Suzanne once admitted to feeling emotionally isolated during her darkest health battles, her body betraying her, and her fame offering little comfort. Despite best-selling books, fitness empires, and TV returns, Suzanne remained hunted by the need to prove herself, to the industry, to her family, and perhaps most of all, to the frightened girl she once was. In the end, that hunger never quite left her. Suzanne Somers died on October 15, 2023, just one day before her 77th birthday, after a prolonged battle with breast cancer. Her net worth was estimated at $100 million, a fortune built through grit and reinvention. But money could never erase the years she spent wondering if she was enough. Behind the blonde hair and bright eyes lived a woman who had climbed her way out of silence, and yet never fully escaped it. Peggy Ray was born on March 31, 1921, in Los Angeles, California. Though raised in the entertainment capital of the world, her early life was anything but glamorous. Her family, working class and weighed down by financial strain during the Great Depression, often had to make do with very little. Peggy, a shy and observant child, learned early to find comfort in characters, imaginary or on screen, because reality often felt too barren. Before stepping into acting, Peggy worked behind the scenes at MGM, typing scripts, organizing production schedules, always close to the spotlight but never in it. Her first real break came late in life, after most actresses had passed their prime. Peggy, heavyset and unfashionable by Hollywood standards, wasn't seen as a leading lady, but she brought warmth and humor to every supporting role. That quiet strength eventually earned her parts in beloved shows like The Waltons, Grace Under Fire, and Step by Step, where she played Ivy Baker in 22 episodes, exuding a tough but loving demeanor that felt achingly authentic. But the truth was, Peggy often played the family matriarch she never got to be. She never married, never had children. While she spoke little about it publicly, those close to her knew she longed for companionship and deeper connection. Acting filled the void, but never quite replaced what she quietly mourned. She gave love on screen to the fictional children she never had in real life, always with a twinkle in her eye, a laugh that masked something softer, sadder. As she aged, roles became fewer. Hollywood, never kind to older women, forgot her slowly. Friends passed away. Letters stopped coming. Though she never spoke bitterly, there was loneliness in her later years that she rarely voiced, just carried, with the same grace she brought to her characters. Peggy Ray died on February 5, 2011, in Toluca Lake, California, of complications from heart failure. She was 89. At the time of her death, her net worth was estimated at $2 million, earned not through leading roles or tabloid fame, but through decades of hard work and steady devotion to her craft. She left behind no children, no husband, but a legacy of mothers and grandmothers who made audiences feel seen, held, and loved, even if she herself quietly longed for the same. David Graff was born Frederick David Graff on April 16, 1950, in Zanesville, Ohio. Raised in a strict, conservative household, David was the youngest of three and often felt invisible, his emotions swallowed in the silences of a home that didn't know how to speak them. From an early age, he discovered that comedy, loud, outrageous, absurd, could command attention, even affection. So he became the clown, the performer, hiding the ache of insecurity behind boisterous humor. After years of small roles and regional theater, David's big break came as Sergeant Eugene Tackleberry in the Police Academy films, a character so exaggerated he bordered on the surreal. The role made him a pop culture icon in the 1980s, but also typecast him almost instantly. Casting directors saw only the gun-loving lunatic, never the man who had studied Shakespeare, never the soul longing to be taken seriously. In the early 1990s, he guest-starred on Step by Step in 3 brief appearances, each time delivering laughs while concealing his growing frustration. Beneath the booming voice and rigid posture was a man quietly battling irrelevance. As work slowed down, David felt himself slipping into the background again, an echo of his childhood. He tried teaching, mentoring, even church work, but the stage kept calling, and with each missed audition, the silence grew louder. Off-screen, David was devoted to his wife, Kathy, and their 2 sons. But even at home, he struggled with feelings of inadequacy, haunted by the fear that he had peaked, that his legacy would be reduced to one caricature. He masked his melancholy with wit, always trying to keep the room light, even as his own thoughts darkened. On April 7, 2001, just days before his 51st birthday, David Graff died of a sudden heart attack while attending a family wedding in Phoenix, Arizona. His death shocked those closest to him. There had been no warnings, no time for goodbyes. His net worth at the time was estimated at $500,000, modest by Hollywood standards. But what he left behind was something quieter and more fragile. A body of work filled with laughter, and a life filled with unspoken yearning, for recognition, for depth, for more than just the sound of applause. Mickey Jones was born on June 10, 1941, in Houston, Texas, into a working-class family where music was the only luxury that didn't cost a dime. His father died when Mickey was still young, and the burden of manhood fell too soon on his shoulders. With little guidance, Mickey turned to rhythm, first on pots and pans, later behind a drum kit, beating out the frustration and longing that filled the small rooms of his youth. Before he was ever known as an actor, Mickey carved a name for himself as a drummer, backing legends like Trini Lopez and Bob Dylan. He toured the world, standing inches from greatness, yet somehow always remaining outside its spotlight. Fame never quite embraced him. When Dylan went electric and Mickey was blamed for the infamous Judas moment in 1966, he found himself part of rock history, but not the hero of the story. In the 80s and 90s, Mickey transitioned into acting. His rugged looks and burly frame landed him countless everyman roles: truckers, mechanics, bikers. He brought rough-edge charm to 2 episodes of Step by Step in 1993 as Virgil, a role that mirrored his own life, likable but overlooked. He played supporting characters the way he'd lived, filling the spaces others left behind, holding everything together, yet never being the centerpiece. Mickey's inner life was marked by quiet endurance. He never complained publicly, but those close to him sensed the weariness. The transition from musician to actor had been born more of necessity than passion. Another way to survive in an industry that discards people the moment they go out of fashion. Behind his eyes was the tired resignation of a man who had come close to the fire but never truly warmed by it. His marriage to Phyllis Jean Starr lasted nearly 4 decades, but even that wasn't untouched by strain. Long tours, sporadic income, and the creeping fear of being forgotten put weight on their bond. Still, they held on. Perhaps because Mickey knew too well what it meant to lose the rhythm of something good. On February 7, 2018, Mickey Jones died at the age of 76 after a long illness related to complications from diabetes. His net worth was estimated at $1 million, a reflection of decades of quiet, dependable work. Mickey didn't leave behind headlines or scandals, but something quieter and far more honest. A life spent backing others, always keeping the beat, even when no one else noticed the tempo slipping away. Mary Pat Green was born on September 26, 1951, in Kansas City, Missouri, to a blue-collar family anchored by discipline and quiet dreams. Her mother was a schoolteacher, her father a mail carrier, both firm believers in stability over ambition. But Mary Pat was different. She didn't want quiet. She wanted color, movement, voices, stage lights. Yet that hunger for expression came with a price. She was often misunderstood, even within her own home. She found her way to New York, armed with raw talent and an iron will. Broadway gave her brief warmth, roles in Sweeney Todd and Candide, but she was never destined to be a marquee name. She moved to television and film, trading lead roles for bit parts and background scenes. On Step by Step, she appeared in just 2 episodes, playing characters like Hilda and Ludmila, quirky, offbeat women who sparked laughter but left quickly, unnoticed once the credits rolled. It was art imitating life. Mary Pat brought gravity to the small roles she played. She had a presence that lingered even when her name didn't. But behind her comedic timing was a deep, constant yearning to be more than someone others passed by. She often spoke about how the industry's obsession with youth and beauty left women like her on the margins. Still, she kept showing up, kept auditioning, kept hoping. In her private life, Mary Pat was guarded. She never married, never had children. Whether by choice or by fate, she rarely explained. Friends described her as warm but distant, someone who poured herself into characters because she didn't know how to pour into herself. Fame didn't arrive, but a kind of quiet reverence did, from theatergoers, fellow actors, the small circle who recognized the soul beneath the performance. Her final years were spent mostly in silence. The roles slowed, and the applause faded. She didn't chase the spotlight anymore. She had long since learned to live without it. Mary Pat Green passed away on August 6, 2023, at the age of 71. Her death was scarcely reported, and her estimated net worth, around $200,000, reflected a life lived far from celebrity, yet rich in unrecognized contribution. She never broke through the way she dreamed, but for those who noticed, she left behind the echo of a voice that never stopped trying to be heard. Patrick Duffy was born on March 17, 1949, in Townsend, Montana, to tavern owners who worked long, thankless hours. Though his childhood seemed stable on the surface, he often felt like a quiet observer in his own life, buried beneath the noise of the bar and the emotional distance at home. He learned to perform young, not for applause but for peace, playing the agreeable son who made himself small to keep the family intact. Fame arrived in waves. First as the Man from Atlantis, then as Bobby Ewing in Dallas, and later as Frank Lambert in Step by Step, which ran for 160 episodes from 1991 to 1998. On screen, he was the picture of the devoted husband, a strong, dependable presence with a soft edge. Off-screen, he was chasing something more elusive, control over a life that seemed to keep slipping from his grasp. The deepest fracture came in 1986, when both of Patrick's parents were murdered during a robbery at the bar they owned. It shattered him. The pain didn't make headlines for long, but it lingered in his eyes, even during his brightest performances. For a time, he turned to Buddhism, not for solace, but to keep from drowning. Faith gave structure to his grief, but the ache never truly left. His marriage to ballet dancer Carlin Rosser lasted over 4 decades and was, by most accounts, his emotional anchor. Yet even that love story carried its shadows. Carlin was 10 years older and already married when they met, and Patrick's guilt over how their relationship began haunted him for years. When she passed away in 2017, he confessed to feeling a vacuum inside him, proof that even deep love can leave behind deeper silence. Though his career endured, Patrick often spoke of how he never truly enjoyed fame. He did the work. He smiled. But his heart belonged elsewhere, to the simplicity of Montana, to the woman he lost, to the private man behind the polished star. Patrick Duffy is still alive as of now, but his net worth, estimated at $30 million, means little when measured against what he has endured. Behind every charming TV dad and grinning red carpet photo was a man trying to outwalk sorrow, trying to act his way into healing. The applause came easily, the peace never did. Stacy Keenan was born Anastasia Love Sigorsky on June 6, 1975, in Devon, Pennsylvania. Raised by hardworking middle-class parents, her early life was filled with cautious optimism. Her mother, a healthcare worker, and her father, a car salesman, supported her ambitions but also feared the brutal world of show business. Still, Stacy stood out, bright, eloquent, and photogenic. By age 5, she was doing voiceovers and commercials, her childhood quickly folding into memorized lines and camera calls. Fame came swiftly. First with My Two Dads, then as Dana Foster on Step by Step, where she starred in all 160 episodes. Dana was the brainy, sarcastic stepdaughter, witty and sharp, often playing the outsider in her blended family. That outsider role mirrored parts of Stacy's own identity. Behind the scenes, she struggled with the pressures of being a teen icon, maintaining her weight, delivering perfect takes, and smiling through exhaustion. Fame, she would later admit, made her feel fragmented, praised for being someone she wasn't sure she wanted to be. When Step by Step ended in 1998, Stacy quietly disappeared from Hollywood. The offers slowed. Casting directors forgot her. And like many child stars, she was left alone with questions fame had once drowned out. Who was she outside the role? What came next? She returned to school and later earned a law degree, reinventing herself as a prosecutor. It was a radical shift, one she rarely spoke about in public. But it was also a quiet rebellion, a decision to take back the narrative after years of being written into someone else's. Relationships, too, remained mostly private. She never married publicly, and much of her adult life became an intentional retreat from the spotlight that once defined her. The girl who had once lit up Friday night TV now chose silence over spectacle, substance over stardom. Stacy Keenan is still alive as of now, living far from the red carpets and laugh tracks of her youth. Her estimated net worth is around $1 million, a modest sum compared to the fame she once held. But for Stacy, walking away wasn't failure, it was healing. The applause had faded, but so had the pressure. And in that quiet, she finally found something closer to herself. Brandon Call was born on November 17, 1976, in Torrance, California, into a family already orbiting the entertainment industry. His parents encouraged his early talent, and by the time he was a young boy, he was being whisked from auditions to sets, barely stopping to live the childhood he was growing out of too fast. There were no backyard games or school dances, just the bright, false sun of studio lights and the pressure to always be camera ready. He gained early fame in shows like Baywatch and Magnum, P.I., but it was Step by Step that made him a household face. As J.T. Lambert, he played the cocky, lazy, rough-around-the-edges teen, delivering one-liners with swagger. Off-screen, though, Brandon was far less sure of himself. The pressure of fame weighed heavily on his young shoulders. Behind his smirk was a boy already growing tired of pretending to be someone else. In 1996, just before the final season of Step by Step, Brandon was involved in a shocking incident, shot in both arms during a road rage dispute. The attack shook him. While he survived physically, something deeper changed. The near-death moment was a jarring interruption to a life already marked by emotional confusion. After the show ended in 1998, Brandon walked away from acting entirely. No goodbye interviews, no tearful farewells. He simply vanished from Hollywood. His disappearance wasn't scandalous, it was quiet, almost eerie. He returned to a private life, taking jobs far removed from fame, reportedly helping with his family's business. Many speculated about substance abuse, mental health, or depression, but the truth remained locked behind his silence. The industry that once clung to him moved on quickly. But Brandon never tried to come back. He never married publicly, and no children were known. Friends from the industry rarely heard from him again. It was as though he had erased the spotlight before it could consume what was left of him. Brandon Call is still alive as of now, living an intensely private life. His net worth is estimated at $500,000, much of it lingering from his years as a teen star. He once lit up Friday nights for millions, but behind the fame was a boy who never got to grow up gently. Fame gave him everything too soon, and in return, took away the chance to discover who he might have been without it. Angela Watson was born on November 12, 1975, in Danville, Illinois, and grew up in a modest home in Florida, far from the glitz of Hollywood. Her family, recognizing her charm and beauty early on, pushed her into modeling and pageants. By age 9, she was being flown across the country for auditions. The applause came fast, but so did the pressure. Angela quickly became the breadwinner for her household, a child in makeup, carrying the dreams of others. She rose to fame as Karen Foster on Step by Step, appearing in all 160 episodes from 1991 to 1998. Karen was the bubbly, fashion-obsessed teen, a stereotype that Angela both embodied and resented. Off-camera, she was far more introspective, but the industry didn't want depth. They wanted pretty, and they wanted it now. While millions laughed with Karen, Angela was quietly losing her sense of self. What the world didn't see was the devastating betrayal behind the scenes. During her years on television, Angela's earnings, estimated to be over $2 million, were allegedly mismanaged and stolen by her own parents and advisors. By the time she left Hollywood, she was nearly penniless. The pain was not just financial, it was spiritual. The very people who were meant to protect her had seen her as a paycheck. The betrayal left deep scars. Angela withdrew, emotionally and physically. She battled depression, anxiety, and trust issues, often struggling to separate her identity from the role that made her famous. In time, she slowly re-emerged, not on screen, but as an advocate. She founded CAST, Child Actors Supporting Themselves, a nonprofit aimed at protecting young performers from the kind of exploitation she endured. Through this work, she tried to turn her trauma into something that might save someone else. She never married and lived much of her adult life quietly, away from cameras, red carpets, and celebrity circles. When asked in rare interviews if she missed fame, she would often pause before answering. What she missed, perhaps, was the innocence she never got to keep. Angela Watson is still alive today, living outside the spotlight that once defined her. Her current net worth is estimated to be around $100,000, a heartbreaking figure considering her years of success. But what she lost in money, she reclaimed in dignity. She once played a girl obsessed with beauty and boys. But behind that smile was a woman who survived the ugliest parts of fame, and chose not to let them destroy her. Which character from Step by Step, TV series 1991 to 1998, holds a special place in your heart? How does it make you feel knowing that some of the beloved cast members are no longer with us? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Feel free to share them in the comments below. If you've been enjoying this content, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. Thank you for watching.